90s and early 80s, video games were simply looked at as expensive toys with graphics which were so outdated by today's standards, many people today wondered how the industry caught on in the first place. That being said, no one back then would consider video games to be placed almost equal to other media entertainment such as television and movies, and most people probably would not expect that stereotypes are existent in almost every video game released. Sexual stereotypes are the most recognizable in video games. Dating as far back as to Atari's 2600, Nintendo Entertainment System, and many other 8-bit machines, the main character is almost always a male who mostly uses violence ranging from stomping on giant turtles or shooting and slashing through waves of enemies to complete the goal of the game. The most universally recognized male character in the industry is Mario. First getting his start in Nintendo's Donkey Kong, he is continuously always trying to save his girlfriend from the forces of evil, and if he's not doing that, he can be found competing in different sports games. Mario has always been the hero of every game he's in, with the exception of Donkey Kong Jr., in which he was placed in a villainous role. Ironically, though Mario is the most famous male protagonist, he does not have any characteristics of the typical male character that we're used to today. The majority of male characters is depicted as strong and in shape and could pass as supermodels. Examples include all of the male protagonists from the Resident Evil series, the Prince from the Prince of Persia series, and many more. Females in the video game world have had a very rough start compared to their male counterparts. For the longest time, and even in games today, women have been typecasted to the role of damsel in distress, and in order to win, the player must save her. Games like Super Mario Bros. And The Legend of Zelda have used this tired scenario over and over again. However, as times changed and people want to experience new ideas, women have been put more into the spotlight. The first game for a woman to be the main character was Metroid. Players controlled Samus Aran, an intergalactic bounty hunter who had to explore an alien planet. Throughout playing the game, it was hard to tell what sex the character was from the armored suit that was worn. However, completing the game, players would be shocked when it was revealed that Samus was indeed a female. Today, females have a much stronger role in games, however they fall victim to another stereotype, which is all females in video games must be of supermodel quality. Most notable offenders include Lara Croft from the Tomb Raider series and all the female protagonists in the Resident Evil series, and much more. Villains or antagonists of video games are generally male. However, that does not mean they are necessarily human. Most male antagonists are usually depicted as polar opposites of the hero. They are darker and more powerful, which creates the ultimate challenge for the player to overcome. Lately, though, females have had an increasing role of playing an antagonist. While still remaining attractive, however, they are usually reduced to a henchman status or a sub-boss, and very rarely placed as the main villain. The only time a female character is not attractive is if she is an old or is a witch, or if she is some sort of monster. Over the past decade, ethnic stereotypes in video games have been increasingly prominent, largely thanks to the television and movie industry already stereotyping ethnicity for more than half a century. Plus the fact that every generation of game machines gets more and more powerful, leading to more realistic graphics and more story-driven games, which now heavily emulates the television and movie industry that it is inspired by. Blacks and Hispanics in video games are usually depicted negatively, largely due to games such as Grand Theft Auto and Scarface, where they are viewed as gang members or rappers and often shown engaging in criminal activity. However, blacks and Hispanics are not always viewed negatively. They are commonly displayed in sports games such as football, basketball, and baseball games, and are modeled after the real-life players in the league. Asians in video games are almost always depicted as someone that knows martial arts and fits the occupation of a fighter or a warrior, no matter if the character is male or female. Games showing the stereotype include the Street Fighter series, Mortal Kombat series, Onimusha, and many more. Germans and Russians are always depicted with not a single exception, as they were generalized during World War II and the Cold War. Germans are always shown as the evil Nazis, and Russians are always shown as part of the Soviet Union or the communist threat. Opposite of that, Americans and the British and the French are always shown as the good guys in every game, who are always fighting for our freedom. Strategy games such as the Red Alert series and World War II shooters like Call of Duty series and the Medal of Honor series always stick with this dark time period in world history, which has now become a tired and oversaturated genre. The last ethnic group to be heavily stereotyped is Arabs and the people from the Middle East. Arabs in video games, and especially as of recently because of the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, are shown as terrorists. Most modern-day war shooters and strategy games released today mirror the situation in the Middle East and label everyone who is an Arab as the enemy and must be killed. The only game series in which someone from the Middle East is actually a good guy is the main character from the Prince of Persia series. In conclusion, sexual and ethnic stereotypes are visible in almost every game, and very few games try to break away from doing so. However, if by chance a video game breaks away from stereotyping and puts a character in a role vastly different from the norm and becomes successful, eventually other companies will follow suit and copy what was the original idea and turn it into another cliché. So long as characters exist in video games, stereotypes will always be present.